I caught my wife cheating and raising her affair baby, so I took everything and left them broke. The garage door groaned as Sullivan pushed it up, releasing a wave of stale air into the crisp autumn morning. Dust motes danced in, the beams of sunlight that penetrated the cluttered space. He stood in the doorway, hands on his hips, surveying the accumulated debris of 15 years of marriage. Cardboard boxes teetered in precarious towers, sporting faded labels and Aurora's elegant handwriting. Christmas tax records, 2018 Brooks Elementary. Art. Time to deal with this mess, he muttered, pulling on work gloves. The memory of Aurora's partinkus that morning still lingered. Quick, distracted, her mind already on her latest business trip. 3 days in Chicago for a marketing conference, she'd said. Just like last month's symposium in Denver and the regional meeting in Seattle before that. Sullivan grabbed the nearest box, labeled winter clothes, and sneezed as dust billowed up. The cardboard felt damp and weak, probably from the garage's poor insulation during last winter storms. Ash lifted it. The bottom gave way with a soft rip, spilling moth-eaten sweaters and old scarves across the concrete floor. Damn it, he cursed, kneeling to gather the scattered clothing, his knee cracking in protest. At 45, reminders of age were becoming more frequent. He'd been 30 when he married Aurora, taking on not just a wife, but a 5-year-old daughter. Now Brooke was 20, a sophomore in college, and he sometimes caught himself wondering where years had gone. The sound of footsteps on gravel made him look up. Brooke stood in the driveway, backpack slung over one shoulder, keys jingling in her hand. She wore ripped jeans and an oversized university sweatshirt, her dark hair so like her mother's, pulled back in a messy bun. Garage cleanup? She asked, raising an eyebrow. Mum's been bugging you about that forever. Sullivan straightened up his back, protesting. Figured I'd surprise her, make some progress while she's at her conference. Right, the Chicago thing. Brooke's eyes skated away from his for a moment. Need any help before I head to class? No, go on. This is my project, he said, waving her off. Then pausing, unless you want to claim any of your old stuff before it hits the dumpster. Brooke laughed, but something about it seemed forced. God, no. Throw it all out. Just maybe check with Mum before you trash anything of hers. Of course. Sullivan watched her climb into her car, the one he'd helped her pick out last year, teaching her about engine sizes and fuel efficiency. She waved as she backed out, and he felt that familiar surge of paternal pride. Despite not being her biological father, he'd always considered Brooke his daughter in every way that mattered. Turning back to the mess, Sullivan began setting items into piles. Keep, donate, trash. The work was mindless enough to let his thoughts wander. Aurora had been traveling more frequently lately. The marketing firm she worked for was granding, she explained, requiring more client meetings, more conferences, more late nights at the office. He trusted her completely. 15 years of marriage had built that trust brick by brick. Behind where the winter clothes box had sat, something caught his eye. A dark brown leather suitcase pushed far back against the wall. Sullivan frowned. Their regular luggage was stored in the hall closet, matching sets in navy blue that Aurora had insisted on buying 3 years ago. He pulled the suitcase out, studying it. The leather was expensive, but worn fibrous fixtures, tarnished with age. No identification tag, no airline stickers, nothing to indicate its origin. It felt heavy when he lifted it. Hey, Dad. Brooke's voice made him start. She stood in the garage doorway again, key still in hand. I forgot my laptop charger. Sullivan held up the suitcase, ever seen this before. The change in Brooke's expression was subtle. Just a slight widening of the eyes, a tightening around the mouth, but he caught it. After 15 years of raising her, he knew her tells. "No idea," she said. Her voice carefully casual, probably just some old luggage of Mum's. "You know how she keeps everything true." Sullivan set the suitcase on his workbench. "Thought you needed your charger, right?" "Yes." Brooke hurried past him into the. When she returned a few minutes later, she barely glanced his way. "Got it. See you tonight." Sullivan waited until her car had disappeared down the street before turning back to the suitcase. The latches were stiff with diesels, but opened with a soft click. Inside, the first thing he noticed was the smell. A faint trace of Eros perfume mixed with something else, something masculine. His hands trembled slightly as he lifted out a stack of envelopes. They were arranged chronologically, the oldest postmarked 5 years ago. Hotel receipts slipped from between them. Establishments he'd never visited with Aurora: the Grand Plaza Hotel, the Riverside Inn, the Oakwood Executive Suites. Sullivan's throat felt dry as he opened the first envelope. The paper inside was cream-colored, expensive stationery. Aurora's distinctive handwriting flowed across the page. "In my darling, another weekend without you feels like an eternity. These stolen moments we share are never enough, but they sustain me through the long days apart. Last night, I dreamed of our time at the lake house. Your touch, your smile, the way you make me feel so alive." And then the letter went on, becoming more intimate. Sullivan's vision blurred. He opened another envelope, then another. Years of correspondence, each letter more damning than the last. Some were recent, dated within the past few months. Beneath the letters lay photographs. Aurora at a restaurant he didn't recognize, candlelight softening her features as she smiled at someone across the table. Aurora on a beach wearing a sun. Never seen. Aurora in a hotel room, the rumpled bed visible behind her. In each image, she looked radiantly happy, a happiness he realized he hadn't seen at home in years. His phone buzzed, making him jump. A text from Aurora: "Dawn conference running late. Don't wait up tonight. Love you." Sullivan stared at the message, bile rising in his throat. How many times had he received similar texts? How many conferences had Riala been rendezvous with her lover? How many late meetings were actually intimate dinners? He began methodically sorting through the suitcase's contents, laying everything out in precise rows on his workbench. His accounting backgrounds as he organized the evidence. Receipts in one pile, photographs in another, letters arranged by date. A pattern emerged. The affair had been going on for at least 5 years, possibly longer. The meetings were carefully planned, disguised as business trips or industry events. His phone buzzed again. "Brooke, this time the mum wants to know if you got her message about being late." Sullivan's hands clenched. Of course, Brooke was part of this. The realization hit him like a physical blow. His stepdaughter, the girl he taught to drive, whose scraped knees he'd bandaged, whose broken hearts he'd helped mend, had been helping cover her mother's infidelity. "Everything okay?" Brooke's voice made him whirl around. She stood in the doorway, again, watching him with guarded eyes. "You didn't answer Mem's text." "She's worried." Sullivan forced his features into neutrality. "Everything's fine. Just got caught up in the cleaning." He gestured at the surrounding boxes, carefully positioning himself to block her view of Thurkench. "Tell her I got the message." Brooke didn't move. "Are you sure you're okay? You seem different." "I'm fine," he said, the words tasting like ashes. Don't you have classes right now? She shifted her weight, uncomfortable. Dad, if something's wrong, nothing's wrong. He turned back to the boxes, dismissing her. Go to class, Brooke. Everything fine. After she left, Sullivan sat heavily on his tool chest, surrounded by evidence of his wife's betrayal. Thegarage walls seemed to close in around him. Memories cascaded through his mind, taking on new, darker meanings. Aurora synchronous travel. Schedule, her vague answers about client meetings. The way she guarded her phone, Brooke's casual mentions of her mother's whereabouts, always ready with details about supposed conferences or meetings. Moving to his home office, Sullivan booted up his laptop. The password to their shared cell phone account was still Brooke's birthday, a fact that now seemed bitterly ironic. Years of call logs and text messages spread before him like a raw map of deceit. He began copying suspicious numbers into a spreadsheet, his accounting skills repurposed for documenting betrayal. The next few days passed in a haze of investigation and mounting rage. Sullivan maintained a facade of normally eating meals with Brooke, watching TV, responding to Aurora's texts with his usual brief replies. But every moment alone was spent digging deeper. He found credit card statements showing hotel charges in cities where Aurora claimed to be elsewhere. Email receipts for jewelry he'd never seen her wear. Restaurant bills for intimate dinners on nights she was supposedly working late. One evening, as he reviewed bank statements in his office, a knock at the door interrupted his concentration. Dad, can I come in? Brooke's voice was hesitant. Sullivan minimized the spreadsheet. Of course, she entered, perching on the edge of his desk, like she used to do as a child. You've been different since Mum left for this trip. Are you sure everything's okay? He studied her face, seeing Aurora's features, but someone else's expressions. How had he never noticed before? I'm fine, just busy with work. Mum's worried about you. She says you've been distant in your texts. A bitter laugh threatened to escape. When did she say that? This afternoon when she called. Brooke fiddled with her phone, the same nervous habit she'd had since adolescence. She's thinking of coming home early if you need her to. No, Sullivan said sharply, then moderated his tone. Tell her to finish her conference. Everything's fine here. Brooke's fingers flew across her phone screen, relaying his message. Sullivan watched her, wondering how many similar messages sent over the years. How many times she'd helped maintain her mother's elaborate deception. That night, on a blotto sleep, Sullivan remembered Aurora's old phone. She'd upgraded months ago, claiming the old one had stopped. He found it in a drawer in their bedroom, buried under old receipts and warranty cards. The phone powered up without issue. Messages filled the screen, hundreds of them spanning years. His hands shook as he scrolled through conversations between mother and daughter on Aurora running late tonight. Tell Sullivan I'm at the quarterly view. Brooke already did. He didn't suspect anything. Aurora need to extend the trip another day. Brooke, I'll say the flight got delayed. Don't worry, Brooke. Dad's asking questions about last weekend. Aurora, you know what to say. Conference in Phoenix. Like we discussed, message after message documented. Their conspiracy. Sullivan's vision blurred with rage. The betrayal was sent, just Aurora's. It was Brooke's, too. His stepdaughter, whom he'd raised as his own for 15 years, had helped orchestrate this deception. He returned to the garage, retrieving the suitcase of evidence. Working through the night in his office, he catalogued every item, scanning documents, photographing photos. creating a digital record of Aurora's infidelity. His accounting background served him well as he built a timeline of betrayal, cross-referencing dates and locations. Dawn found him still at his desk, surrounded by proof of his shattered marriage. His phone buzzed with Aurora's morning check-in. "Missing you, honey. Can't wait to be home tomorrow. Love you always." Sullivan stood at the message, his heartening. After a long moment, he typed a single word: same. He looked out the window at the rising sun, watching his early morning joggers pass by their comfortable suburban house. How many of them knew? How many neighbors had seen Aurora with her lover while he worked late at the office, trusting her completely? The sound of Brooke moving around upstairs made his jaw clench. She was as much a part of this as her mother. His stepdaughter, the girl whose college tuition he paid, whose dreams he'd supported, whose life had helped shape, had betrayed him with every smile, every casual lie, every time she'd helped maintain her mother celebrate deceptions. Sullivan opened his laptop and began researching divorce lawyers. There would be no forgiveness, no reconciliation. Aurora and Brooke had made their choice years ago, conspiring together to fool the man who had given them everything. Now he would make his choice. As he typed evidence of infidelity into the search bar, Sullivan felt something inside him change. The warm, trusting man who had loved his familiar conditionally was gone. In his place sat someone colder, harder, someone who would make Aurora and Brooke pay for every moment of their betrayal. Opening a new spreadsheet, Sullivan began listing his assets. The house purchased it with his inheritance money before the marriage, his retirement accounts, the investment portfolio he'd carefully built over 2 decades. Everything would need to be protected. Another text from Brooke lit up his phone and made coffee. "Want some?" Sullivan ignored it, continuing his research. Let them think everything was normal for now. Let them believe their lies were still working. Soon enough, they would understand the true cost of betrayal. The sun climbed a dagger in the sky as Sullivan worked, its warmth unable to touch the cold certainty growing in his heart. There would be no second chances, no opportunity for explanation or apology. Aurora and Brooke had destroyed something precious: his trust, his love, his belief in family. Now he would destroy everything they had built only. The DNA testing kit sat unopened on Sullivan's desk, its clinical white packaging stark against the dark mahogany. 3 days had passed since he had ordered it, paying extra for rush delivery. The morning sun filtered through his office blinds, casting prison bar shadows across the package that would destroy his last illusions about his family. His phone buzzed. Another text from Aurora. "Hey, meeting went great. Miss you both so much." Sullivan's jaw clenched as he deleted the message without responding. His laptop screen showed the results of his morning's research. Fletcher Davis, marketing consultant. The man's LinkedIn profile painted a picture of success. Harvard MBA, founder of Davis Consulting Group, regular speaker at industry conferences, the same conferences Era had been attending for years. A knock interrupted his thoughts. "Dad, can I bring you some coffee?" "Come in," Sullivan called quickly, minimizing the browser window. Brooke entered, carrying 2 mugs. She wore her usual college outfit, ripped jeans and an oversized sweater, her dark hair pulled back. Every movement, every gesture reminded him of Aurora, making his stomach churn. "You missed breakfast again," she said, setting down his coffee. "Are you Surya? Everything's okay at work?" Sullivan picked up the DNA kit, watching her reaction. "Interesting package, Cometa Day. Brooke's hand froze on her mug. What is it? Just a simple test. He turned the box, showing her the label. Amazing what science can tell us these days about family. About truth. Color drained from Brooke's face. Dad, what are you doing? Finding answers. He opened the box, removing a sterile swab. Open your mouth. What? No. She backed away. This is crazy. Sullivan stood slowly. Is it crazy to want the truth? To want to know if the child I raised is actually mine? Of course, I'm yours. Your A's. Me. Raising someone doesn't make them your blood. His voice hardened. Open your mouth, Brooke. Or should I ask your mother about Fletcher? She stumbled backward, catching herself against the doorframe. How do you? Who's Fletcher? Don't. Sullivan's voice cracked like a whip. Don't you dare lie to me. Not anymore. Your mother's boyfriend, partner. What do you call your real father? Tears welled in Brooke's eyes. Please, you don't understand. Then help me understand. He advanced, swab in hand. Help me understand why my daughter, the girl I've loved and raised for 15 years, has been lying to me, helping her mother deceive me. She made me promise. Brooke's voice broke. She said, if you found out, you'd leave us, that we'd lose everything. Sullivan laughed bitterly. So it was about money. All those years I thought we were a family. We are a family. Families don't lie to each other. The words exploded from him. They don't conspire, deceive, and betray. Now open your mouth. Let's settle this once and for all. Brooke's hands trembled as she took swab. This won't change anything. You're still my dad. Well, see. Sullivan watched as she ran the swab inside her cheek, tears streaming down her face. Put it in the specimen bag. She complied, hands shaking. What happens now? Now he sealed the package. We wait a few days for results. Until then, you go to class. Act normal. Don't warn your mother. Or what? Her voice was barely a whisper. Sullivan met her ice coldly. Or I'll make sure you both end up with nothing. Every penny of your college fund, every asset I brought to this marriage, gone. Try explaining that to your mother. Brooke fled the room. Her bedroom door slammed upstairs, followed by muffled sobs. Sullivan felt nothing. The capacity for sympathy had been burned out of him, replaced by a cold determination to uncover every lie. He returned to his laptop, diving deeper into Fletcher Davis's digital footprint. The man's social media presence was carefully curated. Professional headshot, industry event photos, motivational quotes about success. But there, in the background of a conference photo from 3 years ago, was a rower wearing a red dress Sullivan had never seen, smiling at someone out of frame. More photos emerged as he dug deeper. Fletcher and Aurora at industry panels, always seated, near each other. Group shots at marketing summits where they stood just a little too close. A decade of their relationship documented in pixels and metadata hidden in plain sight. Sullivan created a spreadsheet, cross-referencing dates. March 15th, 2019. Aurora at a marketing conference in Boston. Fletcher Davis, the keynote speaker. Hotel charge at the Grand Plaza, Boston. June 22nd, 2019. Aurora at a client meeting in San Francisco. Davis Consulting Group opens West Coast office restaurant charge at Lupa Bistro, San Francisco. Entry after entry, year after year, their paths crossed to perfectly Toby coincidence. He found older photos, some dating back to before his marriage to Aurora. The implications mimsick. Had their entire relationship been a lie? Had she been with Fletcher the whole time? His ignoring Aurora again? He let it go to voicemail, then played the message. "Hi honey, just finished the morning sessions. The keynote speaker was amazing. I think his strategies could really help. Our marketing department. Can't wait to tell you all about it. Love you." Sullivan checked Fletcher's speaking schedule. Sure enough, he was giving the keynote at the same conference. His hands clenched into fists as he imagined them together, laughing at his ignorance. A soft knock at his door. "Dad, Brooks." Voice washes it in. "Can we talk about what?" More lies. She entered anyway, eyes red from crying. "I want to explain." "Explain what?" "How long you've known about Fletcher. How many times you've covered for them." Brooke sank into a chair. "I was 12 when I found out, Mum." She was on the phone with him. "I heard things I shouldn't have. When she realized I knew, she made me promise not to tell, and you agreed, just like that. She said he was my real father, but if you found out, you'd hate me, that we'd end up homeless." Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. "I was just a kid. I was scared." Sullivan's voice was ice. "And now, what's your excuse now? You're 20 years old, Brooke, old enough to know right from wrong. I wanted to tell you so many times, but Mum said it would destroy everything, that you'd never forgive us." She got that right, at least. He turned back to his laptop. "Go pack your things. When she gets home tomorrow, you're both leaving. Dad, please. We can fix this." "Fix this?" His laugh was harsh. "There's no fixing betrayal. You and your mother made your choices. Now you'll live with consequences." Sullivan spent the rest of the morning on the phone with his lawyer, Richard Ellis. The alderman's response to the evidence was everything he'd hoped for. "Come to my office at 2, Ellis said. "Bring of everything you found. We'll need to move fast on this." The drive downtown gave Sullivan time to think. Memories flooded his mind, teaching Brooke to ride a bike, attending her school plays, helping with college applications. All those moments now felt tainted, poisoned by the knowledge that another man should have been there, that he'd been nothing but a convenient replacement. Ellis's office was all leather and mahogany, old money and discretion. The lawyer was as he reviewed the evidence. "Christ, Sullivan, she's been playing you for years." He spread the photos across his desk, and the daughter helped cover it up every step of the way. "The DNA test should have results in a few days," Sullivan said, his voice flat. "But look at the dates on those photos. Fletcher was in the picture before Brooke was born." Ellis leaned back, steepling his fingers. "With this much evidence of infidelity, the prenup is void. We can go after everything. Do it. I want them to have nothing. It'll get ugly. Aurora will fight back when she realizes what's coming." Smile was cold. "Good. I want her to fight. I want her to feel everything slipping away just like I did. And the daughter, Brooks, not a minor anymore, but the courts might. She's not my daughter." Sullivan cut him off. "Never was. Let her go live with Harry'll father." Back home, Brooks' car was gone. A note lay on his desk. "A gone to stay with Madison. I know sorry isn't enough, but I never meant to hurt you. Everything I did was to protect our family. I love you, Dad. Please don't throw that away, Brooke." He crumpled the note and threw it in the trash. His phone showed missed calls from Aurora, 12 of them. Text messages followed. Brooks not answering. Her phone. "What's going on? Should I come home early? Sullivan, please answer me. I'm worried," he typed back. "Everything's fine. See you tomorrow." The DNA results arrived by mail that evening. Rush processing had its benefits. Sullivan sat in his darkened office, cursor hovering over the attachment. Outside, a storm was brewing, thunder rolling in the distance like artillery fire. The report was clinical, devastating in its simplicity and probability of paternity. 0%. Conclusion: the alleged father is excluded as the biological father of the tested child. Sullivan read it 3 times, letting each word sink in. He'd suspected since finding those letters, but seeing it confirmed in stark scientific terms still felt like a physical blow. His phone lit up, Aurora calling again. Her voicemail was cheerful, oblivious. "Honey, my flight lands at 6 o'clock tomorrow. Can't wait to see you. Brooke says, you've been working so hard on the garage cleanup. Love you." Sullivan poured himself 2 fingers of whiskey, then opened his time to set the final pieces in motion. He began transferring funds, protecting assets. Aurora had never paid attention to their finances, trusting him to handle everything. Now that trust would cost her dearly. A text from Brooke lit up his phone. To add, "Please talk to me. We can work this out." He ignored it, focusing on his. Everything had to be perfect for tomorrow. Aurora's homecoming would be one she'd never forget. Morning brought fresh texts from Aurora. "I just checked in for my flight. Can't wait to see my 2 favorite people. Love you both so much." Sullivan stared at those words, "Love you," and felt nothing but contempt. How many times had she texted the same words to Fletcher? How many times had she played both men? Keeping her comfortable life with Sullivan while indulging her passion with her lover. He spent the day working from home, finalizing details with Ellis, ignoring Brooke's increasingly desperate messages. At 5:30, he heard a car in the driveway. Footsteps on the porch, keys in the lock. Sullivan Aurora's voice, bright and cheerful. "Where are you, honey?" He remained in his office, listening to her move through the house. Her heels clicked on the hardwood floors. Expensive shoes he'd paid for, probably worn on dates with Fletcher. "There you were." She appeared in his doorway, elegant in her business suit. Her smile faltered at his expression. "Why are you sitting in the dark?" Sullivan reached over and turned on his desk lamp, illuminating the spread of evidence before him. Photos, letters, hotel receipts. The DNA test results lay on top. Stark black text on white paper. Aurora's smile died. What is all this? 15 years of lies." His voice was. "Sit down, Aurora. Let's talk about Fletcher." The color drained from her face. "Sullivan, I can explain." "Explain what?" He held up a photo. "How you've been sleeping with him since before we married. How Brooke is his daughter, not Min. How you both lied to me for years. Please, let me." She sank into a chair, trembling. "Where's Brooke?" "Gone. Probably warning her real father, right now." Sullivan tossed the DNA results across the desk. "Did you ever plan to tell me? Or was I just a reliable fool who paid the bills while you played happy families with him?" "It wasn't like that." Tears spilled down Aurora's cheeks. "I loved you. I still love you." Love. Sullivan's laugh was ugly. "You don't know the meaning of the word. Love doesn't lie. Love doesn't betray. Love doesn't teach a child to deceive her father." He pushed the divorce papers across the desk. "Sign these." Aurora's hands shook as she read them. "You're taking everything. The house, the accounts. Sullivan, you can't do this." "I can and I will." He leaned forward. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out that you could keep playing this game forever. It wasn't a game. Aurora's tears smeared her mascara. What Fletcher and I had, it was complicated. Complicated. Sullivan's voice rose. Lems simplify it for you. You've been sleeping with him for over 20 years. Brooke is his daughter, not mine. Yoboth lied to me every single day of our marriage. That's not fair. I did love you while you were in his bed. Sullivan pulled out more photos. Here's you and Fletcher, and Aspen said you were at a marketing retreat. Here's you two in San Francisco. Another business trip, right? 15 years of lies, all documented right here. Aurora grabbed a tissue from her purse, dabbing at her eyes. I never meant for any of this to happen. Fletcher and I, we met in college. When Igot, pregnant with Brooke, stop. Sullivan's voice was deadly quiet. I didn't want to hear your love story. Sign the papers, please. We can work this out. Go to counseling. Counseling, Halud harshly. To fix what? The fact that my entire marriage was a lie, that the child I raised isn't mine, that my wife and daughter conspired to deceive me for years. Brooke loves you. You're the only father she's ever known, and Woe's fault is that. Sullivan stood towering over her. You robbed me of a chance to have my own children, to build a real family. Instead, I got your lies and Fletcher's leftovers. Aurora flinched. Don't talk about Brooke like that. Why not? It's the truth. Something you should try sometime. He tapped the divorce papers. Sign them, or I start sending evidence to everyone you know. Your colleagues, your friends, your family. Everyone will know what kind of woman you really are. You wouldn't. Sullivan pulled out his phone. Try me. I've got quite a mailing list. Your boss might be interested in how you've been mixing business with pleasure. Or maybe your parents would like to know why their granddaughter looks so much like your business colleague. Stop. Aurora Shand trembled as she picked up the pen. You're being cruel. Cruel. His voice wasn't. Cruel is watching your wife kiss you goodbye, knowing she's going to another man's bed. Cruel is hearing your daughter call you dad while she helps hide her mother's affair. You taught me all about cruelty, Aurora. She signed the papers, tears falling onto the pages. What am I supposed to tell people? Tell them the truth for once in your life? Sullivan gathered the signed documents. You have until morning to pack your things. Take what you brought into this marriage, nothing more. Where are we supposed to go? Asked Fletcher. I'm sure he'll be thrilled to finally play daddy too, his real daughter. Sullivan's smile was cruel, though. From what I found, he's got his own wife and family to worry about. Did Brooke know she has half-siblings? Aurora's face crumpled. Please don't do this. 15 years together has to mean something. It meant everything to me. He turned away, staring out the window at the gathering darkness. Every promise I made, every vow I took, they were sacred. But Toyo, they were just words to hide behind while you lived your real life with him. That's not true. I did love you, Sullivan. Part of me still does. Get out. His voice was final. Get out of my office. Get out of my house. Get out of my life. Aurora fled, sobbing. Sullivan listened to her heels on the stairs, her broken cries as she packed. His phone buzzed repeatedly. Brooke, probably hearing from her mother. He ignored the calls, focusing instead on the storm outside. Lightning split the sky, thunder following like nature's applause for the destruction of his marriage. Hours passed. He heard Aurora moving upstairs, clearing out her closet, her drawers, the mundane sounds of a life being dismantled. but they had destroyed it long ago. He realized he was just making it official. A final text from Brooke lit up his phone. "Imam told me everything. Please don't do this. We can still be a family." He typed back his last message to her. "When we were never family, we were just your mother's lunkon. Go be with your real father. I'm done playing substitute." He blocked both their numbers, then poured himself another whiskey. Tomorrow, the locks would be changed. Their photos would be taken down. Every trace of Aurora and Brooke would be erased, just as they had erased his chance at a real family. Outside, the storm raged on. Butin, his office. Sullivan felt only calm. The rage that had driven him since finding that suitcase had crystallized into something harder, colder. They had destroyed the man who trusted and loved them. Now they would face the man they'd... The morning sun cast long shadows through Sullivan's office window as he reviewed the final divorces settlement. 1 week had passed since Aurora signed the papers. 7 days of systematic destruction. He'd spent the weekend erasing every trace of their existence. Family photos were removed from walls, leaving pale rectangles like scars on the wallpaper. Aurora's designer clothes were donated to homeless shelters. A fitting irony. Brooke's childhood mementos were boxed and sent to their new address, a rundown apartment complex on Pine Street. His phone lit up with an unfamiliar number. "Fletcher Davis. You've got nerve calling me." Sullivan's word, voice arctic. "We need to talk," Fletcher said, his tone measured, professional. The same voice he probabilized in his consulting presentations about Aurora and Brooke. "This has gone far enough." "Far enough." Sullivan's laugh was harsh. "We're just getting started. Your wife knows everything, by the way. Had uninteresting call from her yesterday." A sharp intake of breath. "Listen, this situation is exactly what you deserve." Sullivan leaned back, satisfaction coursing through him. "How's it feel, Fletcher? Watching your comfortable life collapse? Your wife leaving with half your assets? Your legitimate children refusing to speak to you? You didn't thave to destroy." "I didn't destroy anything. You and Aurora did that." Sullivan's voice hardened. 20 years of lies. Brooke being your daughter. Those were your choices. Now live with them. They're staying in a roach-infested apartment. Brooke had to drop out of college. Is this what you wanted? What you wanted? Sullivan stood, pacing his office. I wanted a faithful wife, a real family. Instead, I got your cast-offs and their lies. The apartment's too shabby, the lifestyle too harsh. Should have thought about that before you all play Adam for a fool. I can pay for Brooke's education. Too late. 20 years too late. Sullivan paused at the window, watching his new neighbors move in across the street. A young family, genuine smiles, no hidden agendas. You want to play daddy now? Fine, but you get to start from scratch. No money, no support, no advantage. Just like you left me with nothing real. She loves you. They both do love. Sullivan spat the word like poison. Let me tell you about their love, Fletcher. Every morning for 15 years, I kissed Aurora goodbye, believing she was going to work. Instead, she was meeting you. Every Father's Day, Brooke handed me cards saying, "World's best dad," knowing she was helping hide her real father's identity. Every family dinner, every vacation, every moment, all lies. We never meant to get caught. Sullivan cut him off. That's the only thing you're sorry about, getting caught. Well, congratulations. You're free to be a family now. Hope you save some money because they're going to need it. Aurora lost her job after exposed everything to her company. Actions have consequences. Fletcher's voice turned desperate. Listen to me. They're barely making rent. Brooks talking about dropping out. Not my problem anymore. Sullivan moved back to his desk, examining the latest email from his lawyer. You had 20 years to be a father, Fletcher. Now you get to start from nothing, just like the nothing you left me with. I'll pay you back whatever you spent on Brooks' education. Sullivan laughed. With what money? Your wife's divorce lawyer contacted me yesterday. Seems she's taking you for everything thanks to the evidence I provided. Funny how karma works. You heartless bastard. No, I'm just honest. Something you should try sometime. Sullivan's voice turned businesslike. Don't call this number again. You've got a family to support now. Better start looking for a job that doesn't require a reputation. He ended call and blocked the number, then opened his laptop to check his accounts. The transfer from Brooks' college fund had cleared. Money he'd saved for years, believing he was investing in his daughter's future. Now it would serve a different purpose. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Dad, please. We can barely afford food. Mum lost her job after you exposed everything. I had to drop out to talk to us, and Sullivan blocked Brooks' new number without responding. Let them struggle. Let them feel what real consequences meant. The doorbell rang precisely at 10. Ellis arriving for their scheduled meeting. Sullivan opened the door to find his lawyer clutching a thick folder, his expression satisfied. It's done, Ellis announced, following Sullivan to his office. Judge Blackwood signed off this morning. Aurora gets nothing except her personal belongings. The house, accounts, investments, alias. The college fund transferred back to your control. Ellis spread documents across the mahogany desk. Aurora's lawyer tried playing the emotional angle. Judge wasn't having it, especially after seeing the evidence. Called it one of the most calculated deceptions he's seen in 30 years on the bench. Sullivan nodded, scanning the papers, and her job situation terminated with cause. Ellis allowed himself a small smile. Once her company learned she'd been using business trips to conduct the affair, they fired her immediately. Something about moral clauses and company reputation. Plus, they're demanding reimbursement for all those fake conference expenses. The apartment they're in now, Pine Street Complex, Sullivan asked. Ellis pulled out his phone, showing pictures. Places practically condemned. Roaches, faulty wiring, no air conditioning. Rent's $800 a month, and they're already behind. Not my problem. Sullivan signed the final document with a flourish. They made their choices. Brooke came to my office yesterday, Ellis said carefully. Girl's a mess. Said they're eating ramen noodles, can barely keep the lights on. She was wearing the same clothes as last week. Let Fletcher help them. Sullivan's voice was steel. He's had 20 years of me providing for his family. His turn now about that. Ellis scrolled through his phone. Fletcher's wife took him for everything in their divorce. House, cars, custody of their kids. He's living in a motel off Highway 9, trying to salvage what's left of his consulting business. There's more. Sullivan raised an eyebrow. Aurora tried applying at Maxwell Marketing yesterday. They called for a reference, and let's just say she won't be working in marketing again. Not in this state anyway. Ellis leaned back. Your evidence packet was thorough. Every company that calls gets the full story. How she used business trips to conduct her affair. Falsified expense reports involved her daughter in the... Good. Sullivan stood, moving to his bar cart. Drink, it's 10 a.m. It's a celebration. Sullivan poured to whizzies to consequences. After Ellis left, Sullivan drove past the Pine Street apartments, slowing as he approached. The building was a 4-story walk-up, paint peeling in long strips like dead skin. Broken concrete steps led to a graffiti-covered entrance. Through a ground-floor window, he saw Aurora sitting at a card table, head in her hands. She wore no makeup, her designer clothes replaced by worn jeans and a faded t-shirt. Her shoulders shook with sobs. His phone buzzed. Brooke again, from another new number. Face on Mum's getting desperate. We can't keep living like this. The power company's threatening to shut us off. Please, Dad, we're still family. And Sullivan typed his only response. And we were never family. Just your mother's longest-running con. Stop contacting me. He drove to the country club where Aurora had once been a fixture, hosting charity, events, and ladies' lunches. The valet recognized his new BMW, rushing to open his door. Mr. Sullivan, welcome back. Inside, the club manager hurried over, practically bowing. Mr. Sullivan, we've updated the banned persons list as requested. Your ex-wife won't be allowed on the premises. Good. Sullivan handed him a folder. Here's proof she used club expenses to meet her lover. Thought you'd want it for your records. Of course, sir. The manager clutched the folder. And may I say, we'll support how you're handling this unfortunate situation. Such behavior cannot be tolerated in our circle. No, it cannot. Sullivan smiled coldly. Send me the bill for any unauthorized dexness she charged here. My lawyer will add it to her growing debt. He was leaving the club when an unexpected visitor approached. Iris, Aurora's former best friend. She caught him at his car, wringing her manicured hands. Sullivan, please, you have to stop this. Or stop what? Telling the truth. There is suffering. Iris stepped closer, her designer perfume cloying in the afternoon heat. Aurora lost everything. Her job, her friends, her reputation. Brooke can't even afford textbooks. Actions have consequences, Sullivan replied flatly. They spent 20 years lying to me. Now they get to spend 20 years living with the truth. Brooke echoed me crying yesterday. Iris's voice quivered. They couldn't afford groceries. She's eating at the soup kitchen. Not my problem. Sullivan's tone could have frozen fire. Go help them if you're so concerned. Though from what I hear you knew about Fletcher all along. Makes you complicit, doesn't it? Iris pulled, taking a step back. I unsuspected. Get off my property. Sullivan advanced, making her retreat further, and tell Aurora to stop sending her friends to plead her case. It's pathetic. Back in his car, Sullivan checked his email. More desperate messages from Aurora now using her work account. Please, we need to talk. The landlord's threatening an eviction. Brooke's talking about taking a job at that strip club on Highway 9. I can't let her do that. We need help. Any help. I'll sign whatever you want. Sullivan forwarded the email to Fletcher with a single line. When your daughter needs help, step up or shut up. He drove downtown to meet with the bank manager about transferring his assets. Through the window, he spotted Brooke waiting at a bus stop wearing a cheap polyester uniform, probably for some minimum wage job. She looked thin, tired, nothing like the confident college student she'd been just weeks ago. His phone buzzed. Ellis again. I news from my contact at First National. Fletcher tried getting a loan to help them. Every bank turned him down. His credit shot from his own divorce. And that evidence packet you sent killed any chance of approval. Karma is interesting, isn't it? Sullivan watched Brooke board the bus, her shoulders slumped in defeat. What else? Aura interviewed at that marketing firm in Cedar Rapids. They turned her down after checking her references. Apparently, your proof of her using business trips for affairs has become quite the cautionary tale in marketing circles. Good. Sullivan pulled away from the curb. Let her experience life without her lies to hide behind. That evening, a letter arrived from Brooke. Dad, I know you say I can't call you that anymore, but you'll always be me, Father. We're being evicted next week. Mum's lost another job opportunity because of the references. I had to drop all my classes. They wouldn't even let me finish the semester because the tuition check bounced. We're moving to a women's shelter because it's all we can afford. I know we hurt you. What we did was unforgivable, but please, if there's any part of you that ever loved me, help us. Not for Mum, but for me. For the daughter you raised. For the girl who still remembers you, teaching her to ride a bike, helping with math homework, scaring away the monsters under her bed. I miss you. I love you. I'm sorry, Brooke. Sullivan fed the letter into his shredder, watching the words disappear line by line. They'd had 15 years of his love, his provision, his trust. Now they could have 15 years of consequences. The next morning brought more drama. Aurora's sister Pearl stormed into Sisyphus unannounced, her face flushed with anger. You heartless bastard, she said, slamming her hands on his desk. They're living in a shelter. Do you know what those places are like? Sullivan didn't look up from his computer. Sounds like a Fletcher problem, not mine. Fletcher is useless. He can't even help himself after his wife took everything. Pearl's voice rose. Aura made mistakes. Sullivan stood, his height making Pearl step back. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is burning dinar, 20 years of affairs, lying about Brooke's paternity, teaching my supposed daughter to deceive me. Those aren't mistakes, those are choices. They're eating at soup kitchens, Brooke's. Working as a waitress at that sleazy diner off the highway. Men are always grabbing at her. Get out. Sullivan's voice could have frozen hell. Get out before I make some calls and ruin your real estate career, too. I hear clients don't like dealing with people who cover up a After Pearl left, Sullivan drove to his bank. Time to twist the knife deeper. The manager welcomed him warmly. He was, after all, one of their biggest depositors. Mr. Sullivan, what can we do for you today? I'd like to set up a foundation, he said. Pleasantly, the Truth in Fatherhood Foundation for single fathers raising children warrant biologically theirs. The manager's eyes widened slightly. Everyone in town knew his story by now. Of course, sir. How much would you like to endow it with? Let's start with Brooke's College Fund. Sullivan's smile was razor sharp. Seems fitting, doesn't it? The news spread through their social circle like wildfire. Local paper picked up the story. Untread husband creates foundation to help deceived fathers. Sullivan made sure copies were delivered to the women's shelter where Aurora and Brooke now stayed. 1 month after the eviction, he received an unexpected call from Fletcher's ex-wife, Simone. Thought you'd want an update, she said without preamble. Fletcher's living in his car now, lost his consulting contracts after you exposed everything. How tragic. Sullivan's voice dripped with sarcasm, and his other family. Our children want nothing to do with him or their half-sister. Simone's tone was clinical. Aurora and Brooke are at the Sunset Women's Shelter. Conditions there are basic. Not my concern. Brooke's working at Thattrack Stop Diner, the one with all the harassment complaints. She made her choices. Sullivan checked his watch, Ways there a point to this call? Just wanted to thank you. Simone's laugh was cold. Exposing Fletcher's affair helped me take him for everything in our divorce. The evidence you provided was comprehensive. Karma is a beautiful thing, isn't it? Later that week, fate orchestrated a chance encounter. Sullivan was leaving Morton's Steakhouse. A $200 dinner just finished when a city bus stopped at the corner. Aurora and Brooks stepped off, both wearing different waitress uniforms, looking exhausted. Aurora's once perfect hair hung limp, her face lined with new wrinkles. Brooks' former confident stride had become a tired shuffle. They saw him at the same moment. Brooke took a hesitant step forward, hope flashing across her face. Dad. Sullivan turned and walked to his BMW without acknowledging them. Through his rearview mirror, he watched Brooke collapse into tears, Aurora trying to comfort her. The sight brought him no pain, no regret, only deep satisfaction. They were finally living the truth instead of their comfortable lies. His phone buzzed with a text from Fletcher. Tenora lost another job. Brooks working double shifts at that truck stop diner. The customers there, please help them. And none. Sullivan typed back. Should have thought about consequences 20 years ago. Enjoy watching your daughter serve truckers. The following Sunday, he attended his usual church service, sitting in his regular pew. As he walked to his car afterward, he overheard two women from the choir gossiping. Did you see them at the food bank yesterday? Aurora Sullivan and her daughter. How the mighty have fallen. Remember when Aurora chaired the charity gala? Now she's accepting charity instead of giving it. And Brooke working at Thatterful Diner. Did you hear what happened to her there last week? The grabby customer. Pastor Malcolm had to go down there and intervene. Sullivan smiled as he drove home. The social humiliation was hitting them harder than financial ruin. Aurora had always cared so much about appearances, about her standing in the community. Now she was a cautionary tale, whispered about at every social gathering. That evening, his doorbell rang. He opened it to find Brooke standing there still in her diner uniform. Grease stains marking the cheap polyester. Her eyes were red from crying. A dark bruise marking her wrist, probably from fending off handsy customers. You need to leave, he said flatly. Please, she begged, voice breaking. Just listen, Mom's sick, really sick. We can't afford a doctor. The shelter's full, we're sleeping in our car. Sounds like you should call your real father. Sullivan started to close the door. I tear my real father. Brooke's hand shot out, stopping the door. Biology doesn't matter. You raised me. You loved me. I loved the lie. His voice could have cut glass. Everything about our family was a lie. You helped create that lie, Brooke. Now you get to live with the truth. Weldy out there. Tears streamed down her face. Last night at the diner, a man followed me to my car. If Pastor Malcolm hadn't been there, not my problem. Sullivan's smile was cruel. How does it feel, Brooke, having to work for a life, having men stare at you at that diner? Not so fun being honest about who you really are, is it? I was just a kid when it started. Mom made me promise, you're not a kid anymore. You're a grown woman who chose to lie to the man who raised her. Actions have consequences. He stepped forward, making her stumble back. Now, get off my property before I call the police. Dad, please. Her voice cracked. Remember when I was little? When you checked under my bed for monsters? I need you to protect me again. Please protect you. Sullivan laughed harshly. The monsters aren't under your bed anymore, Brooke. There, in your mirror. You and your mother. You're the real monsters. The ones who destroy familiars with lies. I never wanted to hurt you, but you did. Every day for 15 years. He gripped the door handle tighter. Every time you called me Dad. Every time you helped your mother cover her tracks. Every moment was a betrayal. We can make it right. No, his voice was final. You can't make right 15 years of lies. You can't undo what you did. All you can do is live with the consequences. Now live. Mum's coughing up blood. Brooke's voice was desperate. The free clinic says she needs tests, but we can't afford them. She could be really sick. Then she better start looking for better jobs. Sullivan's smile was cold, though. That might be hard with the references I've provided. Amazing how quickly doors close when people learn the truth about you. You're killing us. No, your lies killed everything. I'm just making sure you face the consequences. He stepped back inside. Goodbye, Brooke. Don't come back here again. I love you, Dad. Sullivan slammed the door on her tears through the window. He watched Hirschfeld back to their old Honda, now dented and rusting. Aurora sat in the passenger seat, looking small and broken, coughing into a handkerchief. Good. Let them feel as broken as they'd left him. His phone lit up. Ellis calling. Thought you'd want to know. Aurora tried applying for emergency assistance. They turned her down because of her preview SANCOM level. She and Brooke are officially homeless. Perfect. Sullivan poured himself a celebratory whiskey, watching their car sputter in the driveway. Everything we planned, everything we set in motion, it all worked. They're destroyed, completely ruined. Fletcher's living in his car behind the truck stop where Brooke works. Aurora's medical bills are piling up. That cough's getting worse. Good. Sullivan savored both the whiskey and their desperation. They destroyed my life with their lies. Now they get to live in the ruins of theirs. 2 weeks later, Sullivan attended the first board meeting of his Truth and Fatherhood Foundation. The conference room overlooked the city park where he had once pushed Brooke on the swings. Now he watched other fathers play with their children, wondering how many of them were living lies like he had. Foundations getting national attention, Ellis reported, spreading newspapers across the table. 3 more publications, 1 interviews about helping deceived fathers. Sullivan picked up one headline. Betrayed husband turns pain into purpose. Perfect. Let Aurora see that everywhere she goes. His phone buzzed. Anatha known number. It's Laurel from the shelter. Aurora's in the hospital. Pneumonia. Brooke's working triple shifts though. Try covering the bills. They need help. Sullivan blocked the number without responding. Let them drain themselves dry trying to survive. It was fitting justice for how they drained him emotionally for 15 years. That evening, he drove past the hospital. Through the emergency room windows, he glimpsed Brooke in her waitress uniform, arguing with a billing clerk. Aurora lay on a gurney. Behind her, looking small and frail. His phone lit up immediately. Please, Mum can't breathe. The hospital wants insurance or cash. I'll do anything. Brooke, Sullivan typed back. Inactions have consequences. Enjoy watching your mother suffer like I suffered. It drove home satisfaction warm him more than any whiskey could. In his study, he reviewed the latest foundation applications. 10 more deceived fathers seeking help. Each one a reminder of why he'd created this. Their gratitude would build his legacy. While Aurora and Brooke's lies destroyed theirs, a final text came through as he prepared for bed. An ad. They're a discharging mom. No insurance, no treatment. She can barely walk. Please, for the love you once had for us, help. And Sullivan blocked this number, too. Then opened his laptop to check his investments. The money that could have saved Aurora would instead fund billboards across the city. Untesty. Let them see those signs from whatever street corner they ended up on. Let them understand that the money that could have saved them would now help other men avoid their lies. Through his bedroom window, Sullivan watched a shooting star arc across the night sky. Somewhere out there, in a car, a shelter, or a dingy hospital room, the women who had once been his family were learning the true cost of deception. Their comfortable life had been built on his trust, maintained by his provision. Now they would spend years learning what life was like without his protection. He felt no pity, no regret. They had killed the Manwo, could feel those things, replaced him with someone harder, colder, someone who understood that true justice meant making sure actions had consequences, permanent, inescapable consequences. Tomorrow, he would announce. The Foundation's first recipient, a single father raising his ex-wife's child, trying to build an honest life from thesis of betrayal. The press would be there, cameras rolling. Perhaps Aurora would see it on the TV at whatever shelter took them in. Perhaps Brooke would read about it during her breaks at the truck stop. Serving coffee to Menwo saw her as nothing more than prey. Sullivan smiled as he turned out the lights. They had taught him the true meaning of family, not through their love, but through their betrayal. Now he would spend the rest of his life teaching them the true meaning of consequences. In the distance, a siren wailed. Sullivan imagined it heading toward the hospital, toward Aurora's pneumonia-racked body or Brooke's exhausted collapse. But he felt nothing. They had destroyed the man who would have cared. Now they could live with what they created instead.